Well, it's Tuesday morning, July 10th, I believe. No, it's Thursday morning, July 10th. And we're at the Hikers Welcome Hostel. And there's my tent in the background here. We're going to do a little interview with the caretaker here, Legion, a thru-hiker and PCT hiker. And we'll talk about the hostel and perhaps the White Mountains in general. So let's go say hello to Legion. Good morning, Legion.
Morning. How you doing?
Fine, thanks. So here we are at the
Hikers Welcome Hostel in Glen Cliff, New Hampshire. Just about 400 miles shy of Mount Katahdin for northbounders near the end of the trip. For southbounders, the tough is done.
Yeah, the tough is done. Yeah, so it's kind of like that, kind of a landmark place. They got through the Whites, just got through the Whites.
Yep, we are pretty much the line for the White Mountains.
So basically, you're almost at the foothills of Mount Moosilauke.
Yes, we are right at the bottom of Mount Moosilauke, which is the first of the White Mountains, and then proceeds on through Franconia Ridge, Presidential Range, Wildcats, runs into the Mahoosucs into Maine. So.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about the hostel here and what's your offerings?
Well, the hostel here was purchased by Packrat, who was 1894, PCT 99, CDT 06. Got an offer back in 2000 to pick the place up, turn it into a hostel, and spent a number of years working on the land here. We have 2 bunkhouses here. We've got plenty of tent space, groundskeeping. We never turn anybody away. Everybody is welcome here. Dogs. We do shuttle runs for slack packs. We have snacks and food services, laundry facilities, bathhouse. So we try and have everything a hiker needs and nothing they don't.
You know, I have to comment that I really like your outdoor bathhouse. It's a great idea. You know, a bathroom could get cluttered and wet and just...
Nice summer day, July, August, when it's about 85, 90 degrees out. You don't, like you said, in the bathroom, it just gets stuffy, humidity here, outside.
People coming in and out of the building, you know, just outside. It's just such a great idea.
Yeah, and it's right over our septic, so it makes all the logistics very easy as well.
Yeah, as far as, as far as
it cuts down on the traffic.
Well, it's spacey. It's just in the middle there, and I really like it. I think it's really a great idea. You know, many hostels, you know, they're kind of, you know, dingy, dark, you know, in the showers. I've been in some real doozies along the way.
It's the modified janitor's bathroom that they turned into a little shower nook.
And then everything gets...
that when people come here, they're surprised sometimes by what we offer. And on my thru-hike, I felt very welcome in almost every place I was. So try and give it back and make that, but for some reason people seem to feel like it's amplified here.
And you have this almost like the way you run the food offerings and everything. It's kind of like on a trust, on a...
It's all about the honor system.
It's the honor system.
It is the way of the trail.
Every hiker gets a sheet.
Yep.
And on their sheet, they keep a tally of the pizza, soda, ice cream, whatever your offerings are, and they keep their own record. And at the end of their stay here, you tally up, and they pay. You do a hiker shuttle, you know, onto for Moosilauke for slack packing.
We'll actually cover just about anywhere in New Hampshire if somebody really wants to.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
That's just one of the most common ones. It's one of the easier ones. Mount Moosilauke, because statistically it's the second hardest mountain on the trail, it is a much more enjoyable climb to do it as a southbound hike. It's one of the few areas where the majority of hikers actually do it southbound, just because of the terrain and things like that. But we'll offer down Hanover, up into the Whites as well. I mean, we're pretty much centrally located as far as New Hampshire goes. And I mean, northbound, we're the last game in town. Southbounders, it's the first time you can really relax and start to appreciate the fact that you can do 25 to 30 miles in a day, which For most southbounders, that's unheard of until this point. For northbounders, they have to learn to put on the brakes.
Yeah.
Slow down, enjoy the trail, enjoy the views, take your time, breathe, remember why you're out here. From here north, it's 90 to 95% beautiful, wonderful views. It's the reward.
It is. I mean, you pay for it with, you got to grind it out because there's some tough climbs here. You know, steep and rocky. You know, it's kind of like the Rockies of the East Coast, or like the Alpine, you know, because we're above the tree line for the first time.
The 4,000 footers, like a lot of people who aren't from the area think, oh, 4,000 footers, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? And then they come out here and they see what the big deal is.
And they get spanked.
It's an area where until you've been through it, you don't understand it.
Exactly.
And it changes everything. It changes your methodology. It changes just the way you feel about hiking in general, just coming through this area. I've hiked on the East Coast, I've hiked the West Coast, I've done both the Appalachian Pacific Crest Trails. The Northeast, New England, that's
Well, you get your northbound through hikers, and you know, after the Smokies, you know, it's pretty clear sailing. Shenandoah is not too technical, you know, and as we all know, that Virginia's flat.
Virginia, we call AT flat.
And then you go through the mid-states, and you know, everyone's used to doing 20 plus, you know, going through, you know, all the mid-states, and then by the time you get through Vermont and into New Hampshire, everybody is pretty cocky. Been doing 20s for like ever since you can remember now, and you forget the, you know, the Smokies and everything, and then bam. Because I've heard, oh, we're going to do 15s through the whites, and you know, God bless them, but you know, you better be prepared. You better be prepared to do 10s too. You know, as far as logistics and food.
Yeah, 15 through the whites is a challenging task. I mean, it's doable if you've got the right equipment, you've got the right mindset, and things like that. But for most people, they think it's just another day, and the whites are not just another day. That's why they're the whites.
And I slack packed yesterday, going from
Kinsman Notch.
From Kingsman Notch, you know, in the north, you know, and going southbound for the first time, and yeah, that trek up across the waterfalls was beautiful, but there was some, you know, some technical moves, and I noticed that they really put a lot of work in it. Is that trail? The Mount Moose Lock, is that before the AT? Has that been an established climb before the AT?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because 1937 was the initial year when Benton McKay came out with the AT and it got approved and all that work done. Most of the trail in northern New England is static. It is what
all the climbs, the mountains, the Mount Washington, Mount Moose Lock, and the Presidential Range. There's been trails for like decades.
Longer than that.
Okay.
Part of the agreement with when the Appalachian Trail came through in these northern states is because things like the Long Trail and the Presidential Traverse had already been established.
There you go. There you go. That was my point. Thank you. Thank you.
They shared the trails there.
So I noticed that they really did some tricky stuff. They drilling. I'm really curious about how the hell did they drill up there? Did they use hydraulics? Did they use the waterfall, or did they use hand crank drilling? Because I saw they notched out a lot of holes.
I'm fairly certain that it is manual, not mechanical.
Manual, huh? Because that's some big bores. That must have took a long time. Because some of those bore holes probably had a you know, a diameter of 1.5 inches.
Yeah. And it's time. That's really what it is, and it just takes time to go through all that stuff. I mean, everywhere along the trail, like when you go through up in the whites, the rock cairns that are up there, take time to be built. Just when you're in that area and you see it, and you're in an alpine zone, you're in an endangered species zone, so they have to be very careful with where they put the trails. And the AMC does a good job of marking what a trail is. They have signage everywhere to tell you all of the different trails, and there are a lot of different routes.
There's a lot of different trails
up in the White Mountains, and some parts of it are the Appalachian Trail, some parts of it are just other trails that lead up to summits, part of the 4,000 footer collection and things like that. So there's a nice little network, but it's just manual labor, time, and just a lot of patience.
A lot of that.
Work along the entire trail is all done by volunteers. It is unpaid people who go out for the love of the trail and go out and clear and maintain and do this because they want to, not because they're getting paid, not for any other reason other than my grandson hiked it 10 years ago. I hiked it 3 years ago. My daughter wants to hike it next year. And the trail changes people, and they pay it forward without even thinking about it or realizing they're doing it. It changes who you are. I started hiking 6 years ago, doing small little section hikes, and after my first 2 nights out, I was changed. I got hooked. And once those who get it, the ones who understand that the trail is just not this stripe of dirt that runs along the East Coast with a couple of mountains bookending it. It's a culture, it's a community, it's just a way of life.
I was just going to say a way of life, because when you're out here hiking, it's a way of life. Your whole life is completely centered around your backpack, because everything that you have is in it. Everything that you need is in it.
Yeah, that's your house. That is everything.
For months.
Yep.
So it does change you, and it changes you quickly, because once you realize that this is it, and you're committed, and you just go, and so many are called to it every year, and it's fascinating.
Every year too, down at Amicalola Falls. I remember a couple years back, older woman had gotten dropped off down at the falls, and by her family, got all the hugs, everything like that. She walked about a half a mile and said, "Ugh, I can't do this." She turned around and went back to the parking lot, and her family had already pulled away. So she's like, "Oh, I don't have a ride.
Yeah.
I guess I'm doing it." And she turned around and she made it all the way to Katahdin. After that first half mile, she didn't want to do it, and then when she had what she thought was no other option, she just stuck with it. And those are the ones who get it.
Yeah.
Who just, you know what? You can be cold and miserable, you can just be cold. You can be wet and miserable, or you can just be wet.
Yeah,
You're out here by choice.
Well done. That a perfect philosophy for this, because I mean, you could go on and on about the negativities, the bugs, the bug bites, and just and the cold and the wet and the rainy and wet clothes that you're in just about every day. But beyond that, the beauty of it and the freedom. I find freedom. I find personal freedom in this because of the way we have been in society, and everybody is just so regimented with the house and the job and all of the car. You have none of that. You have your feet.
You cut away all of the excess
and down to the bare bones. It's almost like humans thousands of years ago living in tribes, because we're almost like a tribe out here, and there's various groups that hike together, and they're kind of a tribe, but we're all one big tribe, and we're very nomadic, if you think about that. And if you think about the tribal living hundreds and thousands of years ago, and people were nomads, and they followed the water, they followed the game trails, and they followed the seasons, for wild, foraging. It wouldn't be wild foraging, it's just foraging,
right?
Because that's the only thing that was available. So yeah, I really I appreciate this. How'd you get your trail name? In 10 words or less, please.
10 words or less. No. It's not a 10-word or less answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
In college, my minor was philosophy and religion. So I've studied most of the books. I take a lot of different things out of it. And there's a particular passage that always stuck with me. It's Mark chapter 5, verse 9, is "My name is Legion, for we are many." And the scripture has one definition of it, which I won't go into.
Yeah.
But my personal take on it was that there are a lot of things that are off, that are just not right with the world. And people are more focused on who is bringing up what the problem is, rather than addressing what the problem is.
Yeah.
And
the pointing finger thing, but not really addressing the problem, just making a list.
And I see myself as, it doesn't matter who I am. I'm one of the many who is saying that there is a problem and things need to change. So that's where I took it, and that's where it came from.
Good message.
I am one of the many.
Very cool.
People need to listen to what's being said, not who is saying it.
God bless. Thank you so much, Legion.
Not a problem.